Lena had always been afraid of the dark. As a child, she would hide under her blanket, convinced that shadows in her room were watching her. But now, at 25, she was an adult and had to face her fears. That's what she told herself as she waited alone on the platform for the midnight train. The station was eerily quiet. The cold wind howled through the trees, and the old rusty signs creaked as they swung back and forth. There were no other passengers, and the ticket booth was empty. The only light came from a single flickering bulb above her head. Lena checked her watch. The train was late. She shivered, pulling her coat tighter around her. The shadows seemed to stretch and reach out to her, but she kept her eyes on the tracks, waiting for the comforting sight of the train's headlights. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, she heard it. A distant whistle, the rumbling of wheels on tracks. She let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. The train approached slowly, its engine hissing like a living creature. But something was wrong. The train looked old, much older than the ones she usually took. The paint was chipped, and the windows were dark. As it stopped in front of her, the door slid open with a loud creak. Lena hesitated. The inside of the train was dimly lit, and she couldn't see anyone inside. Still, she stepped in, reminding herself that there was no other way to get home. The door slammed shut behind her, making her jump. The train started moving, jerking her forward. The carriage was silent. No one else was there. Lena walked down the aisle, peeking into the next compartment, but it was empty too. Every seat was covered in dust, and the air was thick and stale. She tried to sit down, but the seat was cold and damp, as if it hadn't been used in years. Suddenly, the lights flickered and went out. Lena's heart raced. She could hear her own breathing, fast and shallow. She fumbled for her phone, using its flashlight to see. The dim beam revealed nothing but empty seats and darkened windows. She felt a chill run down her spine. Then she heard it, a faint whisper, like someone was standing right behind her. She spun around, but no one was there. The whispering grew louder, more insistent, like many voices talking at once. The words were unclear, but the tone was menacing. Lena backed away, her flashlight shaking in her trembling hand. Suddenly, a shadow moved in the corner of her eye. She turned the light towards it, and her blood ran cold. A figure stood at the end of the carriage, tall and gaunt, with hollow eyes that seemed to glow in the dark. It was dressed in tattered clothes, its face pale and lifeless. Lena screamed and ran towards the other end of the train, but the doors wouldn't open. The whispers were deafening now, filling her head with a cold, paralyzing fear. The figure was getting closer, his steps slow and deliberate. Desperate, Lena banged on the door, pleading for it to open, but it was no use. She turned around to face the figure, her back against the cold metal door. The figure stopped just inches away, its hollow eyes staring into hers. And then, everything went black. The next morning, the train arrived at its final destination, empty. The station master found Lena's bag on the platform, but she was never seen again. The midnight train continued its journey, carrying the whispers of the lost into the darkness.